the Italian Football Podcast.
Next question. Alex Nesta. Hi, Nima and Carlo. What is it you guys think Milan see in Paratici? The speed at which he brought Juventus down from a legendary Italian team to scrapping for top four was impressive. Then he was at the centre of a massive legal scandal. Then he moved on to a Tottenham team that was in the Champions League final 2 years prior, and now they're 13th. What in God's name is the idea here? Can either of you explain how his track record isn't actually that bad? I'm starting to worry Paratici has a set of shady relationships in football business that Redbird want a part of, because where is the redeeming quality?
Yeah.
I want to hear what
well, everybody knows my opinions on Paratici, because I was, I used to hammer him on this pod before he left Juventus. I've never rated him. Juventus's downfall can be, it started when Beppe Marotta left and Paratici was given the promotion to become the main man at Juventus, and he failed in that job miserably with the transfer market every single season. I mean, started with the Ronaldo deal, which Juventus clearly couldn't afford. That's not just on him. That's also Agnelli trying to be too ambitious and living beyond Juventus's means, unfortunately, at that time. An Italian club just can't afford Ronaldo. So that started things off. But then after that, if you look at every single transfer market that Paratici oversaw at Juventus, it was always very. I mean, I think I used this example when we were discussing the possibility of Cambiasso being sold in January, that it was always putting out one fire, starting another fire. So he would never. I just never saw him. He failed with his team building. For me, I have a very simple vision of the way I think a top club should be built. You have a core of players which you try and keep to stay there for a period of time. So for the old Juventus, that would be like the BBC, the three defenders and Buffon. And so you build around that core. They stay there for a number of years, and you add pieces to that, and that's how you create a winning team and a winning squad. With Inter recently, it's that core of like Barella, Bastoni, Lautaro. You've got a core of top players, and you build around that core. With Paratici, he never was able to team build. He would sign one player, then he would get rid of one in order to be able to afford another. But also, like that vision that we were discussing earlier in the pod about, right, what is your system? What is your formation? Buy players that suit that system, that suit the style of play that you're playing. And Paratici would, for example, he would sign some players that were suitable for one system and some players that were suitable for another system. So Douglas Costa is a good example of that. He signs Douglas Costa, who's a winger. Well, Douglas Costa can't play with Dybala because Dybala can't play in a system that plays wingers. So you've got a situation there where well, how do you put Dybala and Douglas Costa in the same team? It just doesn't really work. And then also very top heavy. You would have like Juventus that were stacked in some areas, but then didn't have anything in other areas. The midfield, I think, was also an area where Juventus went from having the best midfield in Europe under like Vidal, Pogba, Pirlo, Marchisio. I mean, this started under Marotta, actually. The decline of the midfield started under Marotta. I'm not going to put this all on Paratici, but the midfield was just completely abandoned throughout Paratici's time at Juventus, abandoned, and they had a substandard midfield. And eventually, the team declined bit by bit every season, and eventually there was the implosion, which we are now. So I think that Juventus's decline was really overseen by Paratici. And then obviously, and then there's the legal stuff as well that came after. Yeah. But the damage had been done on the sporting side, the squad value and the squad strength, the ability of the squad. That was Paratici was the biggest factor in that. Well, definitely he was.
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit here. I blame that on Agnelli largely because he was the person who signed off on all those stupid financial deals. Yes, Paratici made them, but Andrea Agnelli green-lighted and rubber-stamped them. And
Well,
as long as
no.
that's true,
Well, Ronaldo, yes, but not.
not just Ronaldo, everything started from there. But the fact that
But that's
Andrea
his job.
Agnelli,
Agnelli doesn't make decisions on who to sign players
no, but he does make decisions on on whether or not some deals should be made or not. He does make decisions on which direction the club should go, like going behind Marotta's back, like creating, spending beyond Juventus's means. Those rest squarely. The final decision to do that was by Andrea Agnelli. The reason why I say that is because I don't think that can happen at Milan. Jerry Cardinale and Redbird, if they can bring Fabio Paratici in and basically say, this is the budget, you have to work within this budget. I actually think Fabio Paratici can do a job for Milan.
Well, but that's exactly what happened with Juventus. But that's what happened with Juventus. He was given a budget every single season, and he had to make do with that budget. And that's why he did all these plusvalenza deals, because he was putting out a fire to try and he started a fire to put out another fire, and that's why we had these stupid deals like
Danilo. Well, because the budget was beyond Juventus's means. The budget that he was given was beyond Juventus's means. I'm talking about if the budget is not beyond Juventus's above Milan's means, and it's basically, this is what you have to do.
The budget wasn't beyond the means. The budget was too low for what they were trying to do. Their ambitions were beyond their means. They were trying to still. They were still trying to act like a top European club, which Italian clubs aren't anymore.
Well, that's what I mean. The budget was beyond their means.
They created a budget
that was unrealistic. It was not like Italian clubs can't pay 100 million euros for a player and then pay them Cristiano Ronaldo wages.
Well, the Ronaldo one, absolutely. Look, that's on Agnelli. I'm not denying, but the rest, I can't.
That's the original sin.
Yeah, the Ronaldo one, that's on Agnelli. Agnelli signs that off and backs that, and then all the problems started. So that's absolutely. But the transfer markets, that's Paratici. He's in charge. He has his budget. He has to try and make it work with the budget he's given, buying players, selling players. Lots of these plusvalenza, because Juventus couldn't afford to sign players. They did plusvalenza deals to try and manipulate the market, which a lot of all Italian teams do to an extent. But he did it also in a way where he didn't bring in good players when he was doing it. He weakened the teams with these plusvalenza deals, like with these ridiculous deals where he gets rid of Cancelo and Spinazzola, who then for the next 2 or 3 years were like the best in Europe for their role, for their positions. They could have had the best wing backs. He got rid of them and brought in Danilo one summer. Like these are the stupid deals that he did. Ridiculous deals. And then he went to Tottenham and he completely failed at Tottenham as well.
Yeah. But my point is simply that if you can control him when it comes to his contacts, when it comes to his scouting network, when it comes to stuff like that, when it comes to knowing the implications and inside of Italian football, he is one of the best out there.
I disagree. I would say, where's the proof of that? What has he ever done in his role? I'm talking like in terms of the transfer market. What has he ever done at Juventus or at Tottenham? Nothing. All he's ever done at Tottenham. The only thing he ever done was bring.
He didn't start at Juve. He was actually at Sampdoria under Marotta for a long, long time, and they did really, really well together.
Yeah, as working as a second man to Marotta, he was fine, absolutely fine. But being the man, being the top dog.
Well, this is what I'm saying. I think that if he comes to Milan, I think there should be somebody who I think Scaroni as a CEO's role becomes much.
But that won't be his role, though. His role, if he comes to Milan, will be as a sporting director, which means he's in charge of the transfers. And I'm sorry, there's nothing in his career that he's shown that has given that shows that he can do a good job based on what he's done. I'm not saying he won't do a good job. I'm saying there's literally, if you're hiring him, what is there to go on? He was a disaster at Juventus as the main sporting director, and at Tottenham, disaster as well. The only good thing he did at Tottenham was his connections to Conte meant that Conte went to the club and they had that one season where they created a miracle to finish in the top four. Then it all went wrong. But in terms of actually, if you look at the players that he brought in a few good players, but in terms of actually, again, the issue that he had at Juventus, creating a team, buying players to fit a system, making sure that the team and the squad isn't lopsided. You don't have just loads of players in one area and loads of not missing players in another area. he failed at Tottenham, and that was shown by the results. And then obviously the legal stuff meant that he couldn't even do the job. But that's I'm not that's separate. That's not based on his ability. I'm not blaming that on his ability. That's just other stuff. But I wouldn't want. I definitely would not hire Paratici. No way. No way.